Hello, it is Steven, aka the Visualizer. Thank you for checking out the video. It's another one in my Journey series, episode 19. So today I'm going to talk about what I learned from being homeless for a few weeks in between when I willingly moved out of my apartment without anywhere to go, until the point where I was guided to go to Oregon out of nowhere. So yeah, for those who aren't familiar, my Journey series is my testimony of kind of my thoughts and feelings as I was going through my spiritual awakening journey. Still am. This is still an ongoing journey, but I was inspired to put these things out here and just let people know kind of what I was thinking at the time, lessons I learned, and hopefully some of this stuff can help you in your life. So last episode I mentioned that I was divinely guided as part of my manifestation process, where I really wanted to move out of my apartment and into a house, my dream house. I dreamed it up. I found something that I believed that was it. I just believed that something was going to happen in my favor. I had heard all these different things from my spirit guides and different people who channel my spirits for me, and they were all pretty consistent in their messaging. And they were like, you know, keep taking leaps of faith. Things are going to work out in your favor. The universe will catch you every time. Think back through all of your life and all of the tough situations you've been in, things that have looked very bleak, and look how everything kind of worked to like constantly make you progress. And I went back and I saw that, and I was like, okay, I'll believe. And still there was that doubt. I talked about that last episode, and that kind of may have been a reason why things didn't work out as I had hoped. So when I moved out of the apartment on April 19th of this year, and was really expecting, like, because I had obeyed everything that was put in front of me, and I got a massive amount of good karma somewhere. I'm just waiting for it to come back to me. I was like, man, something's gonna happen. And I only told one person that I was moving out, and that was my best friend. And I was even hesitant to do that because I expected that he would be a little worried for me, and he was. And he was a little skeptical, but I kind of pitched my reasons that I was just gonna go for this shit. Like, that's really what this whole spiritual awakening journey has been for me. I pushed all my chips all into the middle of the table, and it's not on like a hunch or blind faith or like religion or anything. Like, I've seen miracles happen for people around me that are like unexplained, and I converse with spirits and see things and understand things that other people don't, that other people probably don't believe are real. So this is a real ass journey for me. This is me perceiving the world in a different way than most people do. And I've been deterred many times on this journey, and I'm going to talk about that in a future episode coming up. There have been times where I wanted to give up, where there hasn't been a time where after the awakening where I was like, this shit isn't real. It's been more of like, I've wanted to give up on myself more than anything. Like, I believe that God, source, creator, you know, exists and is pulling these strings, and these intuitive decisions and all these things, these, you know, visions and everything I'm getting are pushing me in the right place. But it's just been this impatience, you know, that I was expecting bigger things to happen for me sooner. And I've been very, very, very optimistic and publicly optimistic about a lot of these things, maybe to my detriment, because I think I talked about it, maybe the dreams episode. There's a downside to sharing your dreams with people, as there are a lot more people that actually want to see you fail than want to see you succeed. And I've found that out the hard way. I didn't realize that I had so many people against me. It's crazy. For a long ass time too. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, so I moved out, and yeah, I had nowhere to stay, and I didn't want to admit that the shit had fallen flat on its face, so I didn't really accept help from anyone. I knew I had family that would take me in. My best friend, who I told about that I was doing this, I kind of like kept him up to date on things, and he was like, bro, just stay at my house. And I was like, nah, it doesn't feel right. So kind of like forced myself into unnecessary suffering, if you will. I set up a makeshift bed in the back of my Nissan Murano SUV, and I just slept there. I found like a parking lot in a hotel that was like very, very remote, that I knew that no one would come bother me. And it was like pretty close to a local convenience store that had a bathroom, so that was convenient in case any emergencies came up. And that's where I began sleeping. And this was in April of 2024. It was outside the Philadelphia area, and the weather was still pretty seasonable. It was like a high of 60 every day, and at night it got fucking cold. And when I left my apartment, I only had $26 to my name, and I had no idea how long that needed to get me. So I was very conservative on like driving my truck anywhere. I stayed like very, very close to the area where I was sleeping in. Basically bounced back and forth between Marsh Creek State Park and a very, very local hotel in the area, which is only like a 5-minute drive, just to conserve on my resources. I went and bought a case of water from Target, and then like a 12-pack of like Kind breakfast bars to like sustain me. And I only ate one of those a day. And I basically just did a forced kind of fast, which was something I was kind of familiar with, because I had run into the same situation back when I quit my job and didn't know how I was going to make rent. My money started running really low, and I just basically fasted for an entire month off and on, and found that I didn't really need a whole lot of food to sustain myself. I would still wake up with energy, so I wasn't too concerned about the food situation. And yeah, I had plenty of water, and I conserved that because I used the water fountains at the park a lot. And during this time, I just did a lot more self-reflection, and immediately the night that I moved out and nothing happened, I was pretty fucking frustrated. You know, I let God hear it. I prayed, and I was basically like, what the fuck? Like, I did everything you asked. And one of the messages from very early on in the YouTube videos that I was watching early on in my spiritual awakening, that I called the God videos. It's a channel that no longer exists. All the videos have been deleted, but it was like, I will never let you fall into poverty. I will always catch you. I will take care of your finances. And I was like, bro, I'm pretty fucking close to poverty, sleeping in my truck with $20 to my name and barely any food. Like, you really let me down at this point. And again, I had faith, I had trust. Nothing happened after I took this massive leap of faith. And it wasn't my first leap of faith. This is like my 5th or 6th different major life leap of faith that I took in pursuit of, you know, changing my life for the better. And let me tell you, being homeless humbles you, but it also teaches you a lot of lessons about what's important. And I put all the shit that I thought was valuable into a storage unit before I moved out. I had moved myself. It took like 3 or 4 weeks of just moving back and forth shit between my storage unit, my apartment, and my truck. I didn't have any movers. I didn't ask any friends to help, only with one big thing. But as I kind of went back and forth between the storage unit and those few weeks where I was homeless, I realized all that shit in there, like, didn't even matter to me. Like, I could lose all that tomorrow and it wouldn't even faze me anymore. Like, even before that, I stopped living kind of a lifestyle where material things were as important. And I just really wasn't doing a lot of the same shit as I was before. And anyone that knows me pretty closely knows that, like, I was a super hard person to get a gift for, because I was the type of dude that had everything material. Like, in my apartment, I had a beautiful apartment, big screen TVs, multiple of them, like surround sound system, like all this cooking stuff, every video game console you need. Like, I was set, and like I used to just do all that shit, play video games a lot, and I just even stopped watching TV like up until a couple weeks before I moved out. It just wasn't anything that like really interested me anymore. I was very heavy into sports. I would watch like every single like game from my like favorite teams, and I just fell out of love with that shit, and found how much of a, I guess, just not important. Like, I used to live or die off of sports results, and when you have nothing and you're pursuing something greater than yourself, you start to just have a different perspective on life. And that's been kind of growing ever since my spiritual awakening. So, and then having the experience helping out my homeless friend that was in the area, you really got to see kind of firsthand what it can do to someone, and also like what it can do if you have a good perspective on it. And he was like very positive about his situation and very receptive to help, which is something I've historically struggled with. Asking for help is probably the hardest thing for me to ever do. I've always been like super independent and always been financially stable. I've always like found jobs that like paid well and worked super hard and went to school and did well and went to college and got my degrees, and it's always been me solo, and I've always just sustained myself financially. I've never had any problems. And again, you know, I talked about situations, and it's crazy because it teaches you money can't buy happiness, like they say. I was in a situation leading up to my spiritual awakening where I didn't ever have to look at my checking account balance at all. I would just do like whatever I wanted, and there was never any like fear of not making bills or anything. That's how good I had it. To have that comfort and stability and still go to bed like hating your life at night is a crazy thing. And I assume that's something a lot of fucking rich people kind of go through as well, because once you buy everything and there's nothing else to do, like what good is that money, you know, other than you know, allowing you the freedom to not have to do like certain things, like not have to grind as hard like working or whatever. And I get many people would be like, I'll take that money, and I bet you would, and I bet like you would get immediate gratification from it, like I did. I remember I wasn't always financially stable. I was living check to check for a long time as I grinded to kind of get my career in motion, and then just had great breaks happen where I got promoted, I got fired and brought back at like salaries that were like tens of thousands more than I was making before. These breaks just kept happening for me. That's the reason I progressed more in my career than actual like hard work. It was just opportunities arose, and I just followed that path. It's kind of similar to what I'm doing now, so I'm just waiting for kind of new opportunities to come in to go in a different direction. So yeah, did the homeless thing for like 3 weeks, and I was honestly getting worried. I was disappointed. I'm like, okay. And you know, I did a lot of meditation, and I wasn't really getting any responses. I wasn't getting any visions. I wasn't getting any intuitive thoughts. I was asking like daily, like, please give me some clarity, give me some guidance. What do I need to do? Because like, bro, I'm running out of money. You know, this shit sucks. Like, this is not what I signed up for. And I was part of this group, still am, that I joined up with, and it's one of my mentors that I met on YouTube, and she offered this like 5-week class where we linked up with a group of people, and we just discussed life and how to live a flow-based lifestyle. And it was very profound, and made some good connections with like 5 or 6 cool people in there. And we had only really ever talked as a group. Nothing had ever kind of progressed where we had become better friends, but we would periodically check up on each other in this group chat. It was all good. And right before the end of April, I had been homeless for about 2.5 weeks. I got a DM from one of the people in the group out of the blue, and I had never really talked to her privately, only as a member of the group once or twice. And she was like, hey, I got a message for you. you need to relocate to the northwest part of the United States. And I was like, okay, that's weird, out of the blue. And I was like, can you tell me more? And she was very vague about it. And I was like, all right. And I was like, northwest. And I was like, can you be more specific? And she like shot a little video and like used her finger to draw a circle around a bunch of the states in the northwest, just all the ones that you would think of. And my immediate response to her in the DM chat was, well, if I ever went to the northwest of the US, because I'd never been out there, the only states that I would bother to go to would be Oregon and Washington. All those other states weird me out, like fucking Idaho and Wyoming and South Dakota and all those fucking rural out in the boony states where there's absolutely nothing going on. So I said that, and then I was like, okay, well, I'll give it some thought. I was like, well, I don't really have any means to get to the other side of the fucking country right now. I don't have enough money for gas, certainly don't have enough money for a flight anywhere. And she was like, well, something will happen. You'll find a way. And I was like, all right, well, you're more confident than I am. Thanks, peace. And I just thought about it, and I was like, okay, well, I had been getting messages that had some synchronicities from some of my other YouTube videos that were like channelers, prophets, and tarot readings. And a lot of them were like, you're going to be doing some traveling soon. And I was like, all right, well, whatever. I don't have a house. Might as well travel, but you got to find me a way to make this happen. So I woke up the next morning, and I usually catch up on YouTube in the morning for all the different channels that I watch. And I got something new on my home screen. It was like a brand new tarot reader, and it had like some clickbaity title that caught my attention. So I opened it up, and right at the top of the video, and this is something that I had never watched before, and the top of the video had a graphic from the Oregon Trail video game that I was familiar with. It's an old ass video game. If you're not anywhere close to me in age, you probably never heard of it. It was like a computer game way back before video game consoles were big. But I was like, okay, oh, Oregon Trail, that's weird. And the message resonated with me. And then again, there were more talk about traveling. I'm like, all right, well, that's weird. You know, I mentioned Oregon in the chat yesterday. Woke up in the morning, see a video that just randomly has an Oregon Trail graphic in it. Like, whatever. So I was running low on food, and I decided to go to the supermarket. And I walked in the supermarket, and one thing that I noticed a lot, particularly in the supermarket, is the songs that are playing on the intercom while you're walking around have been very prescient for me. So I'm usually listening out for that. And there was a song that came on the radio, and I didn't place it at first, but the song was The Reason by Hoobastank. It's an old ass song, probably like 15, 20 years old. And I was listening, and some of the words were really jumping out to me because it was talking about like new beginnings and shit. And I was like, yeah, this is a jam. And I was like, when I got out of the supermarket, I went to my truck and I looked it up on Spotify, and I wanted to look at some of the lyrics. And if you look at any songs on Spotify, when you pop them right up and you like pull the song up, they usually have like a little like motion graphic, like a GIF that plays. And if you look up The Reason by Hoobastank, there's actually an image that's from the Oregon Trail game. So I'm like, all right, message received. Like, I gotta get to Oregon somehow. And I was like, well, how the fuck is that gonna happen? I don't have any money. And I started meditating, and I finally got a response, and it was like, you do have the money, you just haven't looked in the right places for it. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? So one of the first things I did after my spiritual awakening, I was trying to like better myself. And one of the things that I didn't like about myself is I had a lot of credit card debt. And I asked for a solution to that, and I got one back in September of last year. It's crazy. I was like praying. I was on my knees praying next to my bed, and I was like, please, because my credit card payments were getting ridiculous. I had 3 credit cards that were like nearly maxed out. I was paying like $1,700 a month in credit card payments. And then, you know, with them being that high in interest, it was like, you'll never pay that shit off. You did 5 times over before you can even get close to like making up that kind of money. So I asked for a solution. I was praying one day. It was just one thing that was on my list of things that I needed to correct. And I got an email immediately after I got it from praying. Right as soon as I said amen, my phone blinked, and I got an email, and it's from the post office. And I have this service on the post office. I forget what it's called, but they actually scan your mail in the morning, and they will show you pictures of all the mail that you're going to get for the day. And it's been invaluable when I lived in an apartment, because I would be able to see if there was anything worth going out to my apartment box and getting for the day. So I checked the email, and there was like a debt consolidation mail that came to my mailbox that day. And I don't know why I got the email at that time. Usually it comes in the morning, but you know, divine timing and all that. So I had been receiving these debt consolidation mails for a while, and I just tossed them all away because I figured they were just scams or whatever, or they weren't going to help me much. So because of the timing of this shit, I ran out to the mailbox and I got it. I opened it up, and the program sounded amazing. It was like, you know, you pay us like you pay us like a couple $100 a month, and we're not going to charge you any interest on this, and you know, you pay this amount into an account for a while, and then we'll settle on all of your debts at lower than the actual balance. And it just like felt like the right thing to do. So I signed up for this program in September, and I turned my payments. I was only paying $6.99 a month, down from like $1,700 and basically was working with them as a law firm. Everything was going well, and I was paying into this every month. And I noticed when I would talk to them, because they would do periodic checkups on me, they were always like, well, if you need to get the money out of this account, you can do that at any time. And I was like, why would they keep fucking telling me this? Like, wouldn't they want to like keep the money? But it was like every conversation it came up. It was like they just kept reminding me, and I'm like, all right, whatever, thank you. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep paying into this thing, and we're gonna get my credit card debt sorted out. So then that's what actually came to mind. And I was like, how am I gonna get to Oregon? And I remembered that I had this fucking account, and I was like, well, let me see what's going on. Like, and the account had like $3,000 in it. I had been paying on it for like 5 months or so. And they were like, you can take it at any time. So I was like, okay, well, who gives a shit about my debt at this point? Like, you know, I'm out of work, I don't have a house. Let me just keep following this path. So I withdrew all the money out of the debt consolidation account that they had for me. They let me take it all, closed that, canceled the program, and now I had $3,000 on my account, and I was able to book a flight out to Oregon. And that's where the next part of my journey will pick up. So, crazy stuff. Hope you enjoyed the video and the story. Come back for more. Peace, love, and light.